best 8 minutes of the week. It's the podcast that goes around 8 minutes. And we got a great subject today, but an even more star-studded cast that we have with us today. Yes.
Hello.
Hi, KV.
Hey.
How are you?
How's everyone doing tonight?
We're doing good. We're also joined by your big brother, CP, Chris Pizzoli. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thanks, Dave.
I'm glad you're here. Wanted to go with the Dave, huh?
Yeah.
You're in a mood.
No.
So we've got quite the ensemble of folks here because I would consider both of you to be experts at building relationships. And I don't know if I'd say networking, but networking is a part of building relationships. And, today on the episode, we wanted to cover, the keys to doing that and why it's important. And what about that is sort of elusive for a lot of folks. So, CP, you've got the most experience. KV, this is right in your wheelhouse of, what you've been focused on the last couple of years. So just feel free to jump in because I think that for folks that are listening, they may be thinking like, okay, how do I do that better? Or what are the keys to building relationships? I know I have my own style. You have your own style. You have your own style. Thoughts, just general thoughts about building relationships and what's been keys for you two.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. The one thing, though, that you said that already kind of triggered with me is a little bit registered with me is I don't know how much experience do you need at building relationships? I don't know if you need any. I think if you're personable, if people like you, I think, from the minute that you start growing up and going to school, you start socializing people. That's all like the training ground, right, to building good relationships.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if you need a lot of experience with it. I think you certainly kind of fine tune your craft as you go along.
Well, here's what I learned from experience. So I'll answer that, I guess. One thing I learned from experience is that people like talking about themselves a lot. It took me a while to realize that one. And the second thing I think as you get older, at least for me, I get less judgmental. So I just focus in on people's strengths. And I feel like that when you focus in on people's strengths, they like that. And it's genuine because I feel like, everybody's got weaknesses and you learn that over time too. I got weaknesses. Everybody's got weaknesses. So I'm going to focus in on what you do well and talk a lot about that. And I feel like that creates some commonality to build a relationship. So but to your point, if you take a genuine interest in people, whether you're 16 years old or 56 years old, that's sort of the high bid order.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think that we were put on this earth to stare at each other as humans. I think that we were put on this earth to learn from one another and build, like you said, build relationships. But I don't think it's human nature outside of, or only in business. I think it's human nature to build relationships even outside of business. And I think that the more that you're authentic in and outside of business, the better it is that the better that you're going to be at building relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some people are just naturally easy to talk to, right? They're outgoing. They kind of bring that out of other people. I think the interesting part of this conversation could be like, what if you're not? What if you're a person that's just a little more introverted, a little quieter by nature? That I think is where your point comes in.
Yeah.
If you can just ask questions about the other person, you don't even have to be a big, bubbly, outgoing person to have great relationships if you just simply ask the right questions.
Right. No, 100%. And as the host of the show, I have the topics. And as the guests on the show, you guys don't have as much time to think about it. So this is an unfair thing that I'm about to do, just so you know. But it's okay. I'm going to give you guys what I think is the biggest thing that I've learned over the years that's helped me build relationships. And then, you guys can come with yours, but I'll give you a chance to think about it because I'm going to say it. And this is something that maybe in the last 10 years I've really developed. So maybe up until I was 40, I really didn't understand this as well. It's like when you value the same things that other people value, you have a really good chance to build a relationship with them. So in other words, if I'm talking to a guy and he's not as interested in the things that maybe he's not into golf and he doesn't know a lot about mortgages or things that I focus on a lot, but he's maybe he's in a band or something. And so I start taking an interest in his band and, how did he get to have a band and what did he do when he grew up? And did he ever play the drums or was it just guitar? All of a sudden, obviously, because that's his interest and I'm valuing what he values or she values, I feel like that's a good way to develop relationships with people. And it's very similar. Like if there's somebody that I know that it drives them crazy when you're late, you try to be on time, right? Because then you're valuing the same thing that they value. So I think, humans by nature, we all value different things. So you got to figure out what other people value and take an interest in those things. And to me, that's really helped me build relationships with people, especially recently, because that's been like maybe my biggest discovery of the last decade of building relationships. Do you guys have a helpful tip or a morsel for
I
the
agree.
audience?
I agree with that.
You
I
like
think
that?
Curiosity helps with building relationships. I think the more that you're curious about something, even if, like you said, even if you're not aware of the thing that they're talking about or an expert, if you're just curious about it,
Yeah.
I think that people innately gravitate towards people that are curious about them, are interested in what they're doing. It's a nice feeling.
Right.
And I'm a very extremely curious person.
Yes.
And will ask you a million questions and, ask you your social security number the first time I meet you. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that it's just innate. And then I also think another aspect of it is also has nothing to do with the other person, but loving yourself as well. I think the more that you are like true to yourself, authentic to yourself, love yourself, and I know that sounds a little cliche, but the more that you are, the more apt that you're going to be curious and want to learn about other people because you're all set with yourself already.
Yeah.
And if there's a little shaky grounds with anything that you got going on in your life, you're going to be less apt to be engaged with others. So I think that is my tip or the thing that I've learned.
I think I'm gonna
is just-
use that today. I got some
Yeah.
shaky grounds going on with some things I'm doing right now.
Yeah, well, I didn't
Yeah.
want to use profanity.
No, no,
but,
no.
Oh,
you know.
gotcha.
I think that's actually really, really smart.
Yeah, it is.
Well, all right. So my tip, I suffer from being this is pretty personal, but I suffer from some terrible, terrible, terrible self-centeredness. So it's usually all about me, way more than it's about them. Now I have to try to keep that in check. So I ask all the questions. I try to find out as much as I can about them, but I always feel like I need to do something a little bit unique, a little bit memorable. I got to come at it from a slightly different angle. I may have to take a risk with something I say to try to, get them a little off guard.
Yeah.
In the hopes that, not only does the relationship start to build, naturally and organically, but it also has this other element of like, that guy's something else. Like,
Right.
I can't believe he just said that.
Yeah.
Or he's, whatever. So I always try to add
Differentiator.
In something. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I
His
would say-
world, we're just living in
Well,
it, so.
for
Right.
two things about that comment that I just want to mention. Number one is you are very, very, maybe the best of all time at the nicknames for people, which makes you
Yes.
memorable because you do come up with extremely creative nicknames for people that they like.
Usually.
I would say 9 out of 10 times you hit the mark on the nickname.
Yeah. Kate, when you miss though, whew, you go down in flames. They don't like it.
The number two thing is that there's a lot of people in the world that suffer from self-centeredness. You just
Yes.
happen to be aware of it.
Yes, correct.
Most people aren't aware of it.
Right.
So you're not alone there, CP. There's billions out there just like you. But no, a self-admission, which is a nice thing.
It's the first step.
Yes, it sure isn't
Tell me,
it?
more, tell me more about that. I'm curious.
Well, you know what? That's for the next episode
That's the next
because
episode.
we're all wrapped up with 8 good minutes today.
Well, thanks for having us.
KV,
Yeah.
CP,
Wonderful. Yep.
it was a great show.
Been a long time.
Amazing.
We'll do it again.
My
Maybe.
favorite guys.
For everybody over here at 8 Good Minutes, we'll see you next time.